إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. Viewers, this is Brother Ridwan once again saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I would like to thank you all once again for visiting this Dawah channel entitled It's Time for a New Beginning. Inshallah, in today's video, what I want to discuss are the four major schools of thought in Islam. Now, in today's modern society, because of differences in opinions, because of teachings of different people, our ummah is divided up into many different groups, into many different sects. I'm not here to discuss any of that or to get into politics, because that would only further propagate these differences. That would only further divide us, and this division is something that is not from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm not going to get into that. What I would like to do is discuss the history of these four major schools of thought, and look into the origin of these four great imams of Islam and how they acquired their knowledge and from where. So this is something that should be beneficial to all of us, because these four major schools of thought is something that everybody has knowledge of and there's a general consensus on. So in Islam, these different schools of thought are known as madhabs. So of the four, you have the Hanafi, based off the teachings of Imam Abu Hanifa. You have the Maliki, based off the teachings of Imam Malik. You have the Shafi, based off the teachings of Imam Shafi. And the Hanbali, based off the teachings of Imam Hanbal. So let's first look at the history of Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. He was the son of a Persian merchant. He was born in the city of Kufa, and Kufa is a city in Iraq. And during his time, the city of Kufa was one of the greatest places to be when it came to learning about the religion of Islam. It was the third most important place according to history. And the reason why is because of its inhabitants. This was also the time of Umar ibn Khattab, who was the second caliph of the Muslims, after the first caliph being Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So what Umar ibn Khattab did was he sent a lot of the Sahaba to the city of Kufa to visit there, to settle there, to live there. And their mission was to give dawah and further spreading the knowledge of Islam. And so this is the city that Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, was born in. So at the age of 20, Imam Abu Hanifa, he decided to further his knowledge of Islam. So he started to really get into his studies at the age of 20. And of his teachers, probably the most important was Imam Ahmad, who was of direct lineage to one of the great Sahaba that we are all familiar with, who was Abdullah ibn Masud. And other inhabitants of the city of Kufa at the time were other great Sahaba, such as I said, you had Abdullah ibn Masud, you had Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, you had Amr, you had Abu Musa. According to the history, there were over 1,000 Sahaba sent to the city at the time. So I can go on and on with the list, but that's just to name a few. So after gaining his knowledge, he based his studies on the fiqh, on the fiqh being the Islamic jurisprudence, the Islamic law, the Sharia. And so after gaining his knowledge, he established a school, which later became a school of theology. And he had students that sat up under him for upwards of 30 years. And it was his students who later on put the label of his teachings as the Hanafi school of thought. Putting these labels on the teachings was something that wasn't done by any of the four great imams. Their intention was not to divide or be something different. This is something that was done by their students, putting these labels on them. So, um, Imam Abu Hanifa, he was also of the Taba'in. Now, when we look into who was the greatest example for us as Muslims to learn from, first we know that the greatest example was Prophet Muhammad himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the greatest example for us, and after him, then you had the Sahaba, which was his companions. These are the people who prayed with him, who ate with him, who slept next to him, who sat amongst him, who saw him on a daily basis. These are his relatives, his neighbors, etc. So after the Prophet himself, you had the Sahaba. The next generation after that was the Taba'in. The next generation after that is the Taba'in. So these three generations are the greatest example and the best of the Muslims after the Prophet himself. So Imam Abu Hanifa was of that second generation. He was of the Taba'in. During his lifetime, he compiled a lot of his knowledge into one of his books, which is Kitab al-Asar. This compilation was something that was done by his students, and it's also one of his greatest works. And his unfortunate death was due to somebody poisoning him. And when he realized that he had been poisoned and he was coming near to his end, he wanted to make sure that he died in the best of states. So he went to go pray. And Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, he died in prostration. He died in sajda, subhanallah. During his lifetime, he was said to have made Hajj about 50 times, and his reasoning for doing so, of course, we know that when someone makes Hajj, there's tremendous blessings in it. You get your sins forgiven for doing so, but that wasn't his only intent. You have to also realize that Hajj was a time, and still is a time, where you have people from all over the world gather in one central location, which was the city of Mecca. And so he would use that to his advantage when it came to furthering his teaching. And he also gained knowledge from others because you had people from all over coming to that one central location in Mecca. If we look into Imam Malik, rahimahullah, he was born in the city of Medina. Now his lineage comes from Yemen. His ancestry came from Yemen, and his grandfather, after accepting and adopting Islam, he moved to the city of Medina, and so it was from his grandfather that his family started living and thriving in Medina. So after completing his primary education, Imam Malik, rahimahullah, he decided to further his studies in the fiqh, the Islamic jurisprudence, the Islamic law. And it's said that he benefited from the teachings of over 300 of the Taba'in of that second generation. And they said that he studied fiqh from 95 different sheikhs. And so during his lifetime, he compiled everything that he learned and all of his teachings into a book that we can still find today, the Kitab al-Muwatta. You can find it in most bookstores, the Muwatta of Imam Malik, which is just a compilation of hadith. And in that book, there's over 1,700 different hadith in that book. He also had a lot of students of his own, and his madhab is adopted by about 25% or more of the Islamic population today, and most of the followers of his madhab are in North Africa and West Africa, Of course, in other places of the world, being that 25% of the population follow it, but this is just to give you an idea, an example. So this imam was known for a lot of different things. One of the reasons why he never left the city of Medina, he spent his whole life in the city of Medina, is because that is the city of the Prophet. We know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born in the city of Mecca, but then after that he made hijrah and he migrated to the city of Medina, where he spent the rest of his life and where he is currently buried at. So Imam Malik never wanted to leave Medina because he said that he didn't want to be that far away from the Prophet. That was the closest place to him. He had the benefit of sitting and standing and talking from the same places that the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sat and stood and talked from. So he was known for a lot of different things. Imam Malik always made wudu or ghusl. He wore fresh, clean attire, and he applied perfume before conducting any lessons on hadith. He delivered lectures on Islamic law, and he issued fatwas being Islamic rulings. And he did that for nearly 62 years. And approximately 1,300 people have reported hadith from him. He had the honor of occupying the home of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Masud and conducting lessons from the same spot where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spent time for itikaf in Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. Imam Malik was famous for his piety and his integrity and his stand against conviction whenever it came to disagreement. When it came to the sayings of the Prophet, he was known for not having any tolerance for that. Either the person was speaking the truth, speaking correctly, or he had something to say about it. He had zero tolerance for it, and he was known to speak up for it when he hears somebody saying something incorrect. If we look into where the age where he started his teaching, he started teaching at the age of 17. And he died at the age of 86 in the city of Medina. As I said, he lived out his entire life in the city of Medina. If we look into Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, Imam Shafi was a descendant of the Quraysh tribe, and we know that the Quraysh was also the tribe of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the only imam of the four great imams that was related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Shafi was born in Gaza, Syria. He completed Hifz of the Quran at the age of 7. And at the age of 13, he memorized the Kitab al-Muwatta, the Muwatta of Imam Malik. So Imam Shafi was a student of Imam Malik. And at the age of 20, he went to Medina to become a direct student of him. So after reading his book and memorizing it, then he went to the city of Medina to directly sit up under Imam Malik. And Imam Malik was greatly impressed of the simple fact that he had memorized his Muwatta, that he had memorized his book. So he stayed with Imam Malik for some time, and then after that, he returned to, and he went to Mecca. Imam Shafi also came into contact with other learned men. He learned from 81 other sheikhs, and he acquired knowledge of Quran, Sunnah, and Hadith. Imam Shafi remained in Baghdad as a student of Imam Muhammad for over 3 years, and he further gained more knowledge of Islamic law, of the fiqh. He returned to Mecca, where he stayed for 9 years, delivering lectures on Islamic law, and it was during that time period that Imam Shafi came into contact with Imam Hanbal, who was the next Imam that I'm going to discuss. Let's see. Imam Hanbal was of pure Arab descent, and his ancestry was of direct lineage to Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Prophet Abraham. He was born in Baghdad, and he completed Hifz of the Quran at an early age as well. When he was 16 years old, he began to pursue the knowledge of Hadith under Imam Abu Yusuf, who was the most important pupil of Imam Abu Hanifa. And after accumulating his knowledge from numerous scholars in Baghdad, he journeyed to the city of Kufa, which was the city that Imam Abu Hanifa was born in. He also traveled to Basra, he traveled to Mecca, he traveled to Medina, Yemen, Syria, and Jazeera in order to further his knowledge. And after meeting with over 100 sheikhs, he is reputed to have made a collection of over 1 million hadith, subhanAllah. It was when he met Imam Shafi in Mecca for the first time that Imam Hanbal also joined him, and that's where he mastered the fiqh. And after Imam Hanbal reached the age of 40, he started conducting lessons and delivering lectures. Being a prominent figure, his lectures attracted a huge gathering of at least 5,000 students, and among those students were Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi, and other noteworthy students. So the hadith that we are all familiar with, that are of the Sahih Sitta, these are students who sat directly under Imam Hanbal. After several works, an encyclopedia of hadith called Musnad was compiled by his son, and that still exists until this day. And his other works include a collection of fatwas, the Islamic rulings, and that covers over 20 different volumes. These fatwas form the basis of the Hanbali school of thought. The Hanbalis represent the smallest group of the Sunni schools of thought when it comes to the fiqh. And Imam Hanbal himself, he died in the city of Baghdad on a Jummah day, and he was 77 years old. So if you look into the history of these four great Imams, one of the things that you notice was that even though these are four different men, and they represent four different schools of thought, they were all students of one another. Imam Shafi was a student of Imam Malik. Imam Hanbal went to the city of Kufa, which was the city of Imam Abu Hanifa, to further his knowledge. So they all had a connection to one another. So their knowledge is the same and very similar. When you look into the teachings of these four different schools of thought, you see slight variations. But when you look into them, guess what? All of them are correct. None of them deviate away from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So to clear up any misconception, if you follow any one of these four major schools of thought, you are correct. If you follow the madhab of Imam Malik, you are correct. If you follow the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa, you are correct. or Imam Shafi or Imam Hanbal, you are correct. Because they learn the same thing. They learn from each other, from the same people, from the same sheikhs, from the same Sahaba, and they taught the same thing. Like I said, when it came to their teachings, there were only slight variations, and even their variations isn't something that was of bid'ah. There were no innovations. For example, one of them might have stressed the importance of making nafil, the extra 2 rakats for yourself to help benefit yourself. One of them might have stressed some sunnah greater than others did, but none of them are wrong. They are all correct. So, inshallah, I hope that by me making this video and us looking into the history of these 4 great imams and these differences in the school of thought, we see that there are no differences, really. And by following any one of them, then you are following Quran and Sunnah, and you are on, inshallah, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. So I hope that this will stop any future division, that this will clear up any misconception, although this is something that is all from the qadr of Allah, because it is also said that when the last day comes, when the end of time comes, the Muslims are going to be more divided than any other religion out there. We are going to be more divided than the Jews. We are going to be even more divided than the Christians. So this is something that is inevitable, something that is going to happen anyway. But inshallah, let's hope that this was at least a wake-up call for a lot of the Muslims out there. And as always, my mouth is closer to my own ears, so I try to benefit from what I'm saying, and I also hope that others benefit from it as well. So inshallah, tune in next time. This is Brother Ridwan saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and I hope that Allah continues to watch over all of us, protect us, and guide us. Peace.